Remembrance Day ceremonies across the country take on a special significance this year. 2018 marks the 100th anniversary of Armistice Day, effectively putting an end to World War I. The Source traveled to Smithville and visited the Legion, where they held their Remembrance Day service.
This one today is very special because we're having out-of-town guests because of the 100th anniversary of Armistice, and we just seem to be, every year that we do this, growing in numbers, which is awesome in the fact that people are remembering who has served for us, and we are having younger and younger veterans join us and their families, so that's great. And it's just great to see the community come together and to give respect to those that have fallen and those that are still serving, because we forget about them a lot. We take advantage of what we have in Canada. We forget how our freedom was won by these folks and is still maintained because of those serving, and we just take it for advantage of it, but we don't ever think about it. And so today we are able to pay respect to those that have actually given us this privilege.
Can you take us right through the beginning of today's ceremony to the end? What exactly will take place?
At 10:20, we will be having a march on. We actually have some Army Canadian Army serving here to march with us. We have the Grimsby Pipe Band that is marching, and whatever veterans that are available and are able to march will be marching down the street and onto the service. The service will be taken over at the Cenotaph, and we will have our service and, of course, the laying of the wreaths in respect. And then we will, afterwards, after the service is over, we'll be congregating in the hall, upstairs and downstairs, for a lunch that's been provided by the Ladies Auxiliary to the branch. And at no cost, anybody that wants to come and join us for lunch is more than welcome, so that we can all, I don't know if celebrate is the appropriate word, but we can be together and commemorate everything and anybody that has served.
Petty Officer Second Class Matt Bungay has served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. He appreciates being able to hear stories from veterans whose experiences were far more challenging and horrifying.
We look at them with complete shock and awe. They are the greatest generation in us up there, and we'll be sad eventually they won't march anymore, and that's why we try to spend as much time with it as we can, and to try to hear what they have to say, so that we can pass on the stories and the information to future generations.
Obviously, from the First World War, I believe we don't have any veterans around anymore. World War II veterans are becoming more and more scarce. How do we keep those stories alive?
The same way they do, in places like this where we feel safe enough to be able to share our experiences and our stories, and these stories are just passed on by word of mouth. So all we can do is just keep singing their praises and that stuff, and hope to God that people remember.
60,000 Canadians died in World War II. Shirley Hewitt's grandfather was one of the lucky ones who made it back.
There's a real rich history of service in my mom's side of the family, and that would be the Todds. My grandfather was in the First World War. He served in the trenches at Vimy in France. He was only 16 years old at the time. Shortly after that, when that battle was done, he was sent back to Britain to work as a clerical person there. I'm assuming he was suffering from what you would call shell shock then, but post-traumatic stress disorder now. And he served out the rest of the war until 1918, and then he came back home. There was 3 Todd boys in the First World War. They all came home, thank God. And my mom kept the thing going. She entered at the age of 18, which was the age limit at that time. And she didn't serve overseas. She was stationed in Toronto at the old CNE grounds, and she did a lot of clerical work there. Actually, she told me that she cataloged scars and particular body marks of the soldiers, so that if they were killed in action, they could identify them that way.
Remembrance Day concluded across the country with the ringing of 100 bells in communities just like this one here in Smithville. On behalf of all of us at The Source, YourTv, and our parent company Cogeco, I'd like to thank all of those who have served and continue to serve in times of war, peace, and conflict. Reporting in Smithville for The Source, I'm Mike Balsam.